アホばうぬじゃいい自重なおまさ
What happens when Oda Nobunaga, a legendary samurai archer, and an ancient Roman general fight side by side in another world? Crazy? Maybe, but that's exactly what Drifters offers. An action-packed historical fantasy anime that throws some of the most iconic figures in human history into one epic interdimensional war. Hey everyone, I'm Saklism. As usual, I'm diving into the first 3 episodes of an anime to help you decide whether it's worth continuing or if it's better left behind. And this time, we're looking at something completely different from your average isekai. Drifters. This isn't about some high schooler suddenly getting overpowered abilities. It's about real historical legends, from Japanese samurai and French heroes to American cowboy gunslingers, who are all summoned into a strange new world to wage war. So the big question is, how well does Drifters execute this wild concept? Is it just a blood-soaked gimmick? Or is it actually a hidden gem, full of strategy, strong characters, and a deeper story behind all the chaos? Let's jump straight into the brutal, bizarre world of Drifters in this edition of the 3-episode rule. Year 1600, the Battle of Sekigahara rages. Shimazu Toyohisa, a fierce samurai of the Shimazu clan, fights valiantly in the rear guard as his forces retreat. Despite being pierced by spears and bloodied, he manages to cut down numerous enemies and even wounds the enemy general, Ii Naomasa. As he staggers off the battlefield, gravely wounded, Toyohisa suddenly finds himself in a strange corridor lined with doors. A calm, bespectacled man sitting at a desk, Murasaki, silently reviews Toyohisa's documents. Before Toyohisa can ask anything, a portal opens, and he is pulled through one of the doors. He loses consciousness. Toyohisa awakens in the middle of a foreign grassland in another world, where he's discovered by 2 young elves, Mark and Marcia, shocked to find a human who isn't from their world, a drifter. They carry the wounded samurai to an abandoned castle in the forest, where other drifters are hiding. Nearing the castle, they are confronted by a young archer, Nasu Sukataka Yoichi, a legendary samurai from the Genpei War era. Initially wary, Yoichi threatens to shoot, but upon realizing Toyohisa is a dying drifter, he lets them in. Inside the ruins, Toyohisa meets an eccentric older samurai, none other than Oda Nobunaga, the famed warlord of Japanese history. Toyohisa is stunned. Nobunaga supposedly died 18 years ago. As the 3 realize they hail from different time periods, they begin sharing their stories. Nobunaga recognizes the name Battle of Sekigahara and asks about the fate of the samurai clans in Toyohisa's era. Toyohisa in turn is in disbelief at meeting Nobunaga and Yoichi. Figures he believed to be ancient legends. It turns out that before their deaths, Nobunaga at Honnoji in 1582 and Yoichi from the 12th century also passed through the same strange corridor. As the 3 warriors debate and adjust to their new world, a young sorceress named Olminu observes them from afar. She works for the Octoberist organization and has been tasked by her superior, Eibe no Seimei, also known as Haru Akira, to monitor the newly arrived drifters. The next day, Toyohisa and Nobunaga are awakened by smoke and distant sounds of battle. Smoke rises from a nearby elf village, and Nobunaga deduces it's under attack. Without hesitation, Toyohisa grabs his sword and rushes off. He feels indebted to the elves who saved him. I don't know what world this is, but all I can do is charge forward. He declares. Inspired by Toyohisa's courage, Nobunaga, despite his age, follows, grumbling, with the nimble 19-year-old Yoichi close behind. At the village's edge, they see Mark and Marcia fleeing armed soldiers. Nobunaga skillfully shoots down an enemy with a gun, while Toyohisa cuts down 2 more. One soldier tries to shout a warning in a foreign language, but Toyohisa coldly replies, "If you don't speak Japanese, then die," and mercilessly slays him. After rescuing the elf children, Toyohisa declares their debt settled. They saved his life, and now he's saved theirs. Nobunaga chuckles at Toyohisa's stubborn sense of honor. Studying the enemy uniforms and formations, Nobunaga realizes the attackers aren't bandits, but trained troops of the Orte Empire, a human regime that oppresses elves. His tactical instincts kick in. He intends not just to help, but to seize the village as a strategic base.
裏を取りに行くか。
Abe no Saime, observing through magic, hears Nobunaga mutter about claiming the village and smiles uneasily. This is the nature of drifters, always seeking to conquer. Inside the village, the Ordet commander, Aram, has captured many elves. The village is being burned for allegedly sheltering a drifter. Aram reminds the elves of the Empire's cruel laws. Elves are forbidden from entering forests, crafting weapons, or associating with drifters. An elder elf protests that they only helped a dying man, and Mark and Marsha's older brother speaks out too, pointing out their need to hunt to survive, and that Orret soldiers frequently abduct elf women. Aram mocks their suffering. To him, Imperial humans have every right to enslave or exterminate demi-humans. He declares that elves, dwarves, and hobbits are destined for annihilation. Without hesitation, Aram executes the village elder in front of his people. His troops begin slaughtering elves. Up to half the population is permitted to be killed as an act of terror to control the rest. Suddenly, chaos erupts. The village's wheat fields go up in flames. Nobunaga and Yoichi have set the fields ablaze to break the enemy's morale. As panic spreads, Toyohisa charges into the village in a berserker rage. He confronts Aram, demanding he leave his head here as a wager.
大将首だろお前。
The two duel, and Toyohisa lands a brutal blow. He drops his sword, tackles Aram, and savagely beats him with his scabbard, cracking his skull. Though he could kill Aram, Toyohisa stops and hands a sword to the surviving elves, urging them to avenge their loved ones. Though terrified, the elves are moved by Toyohisa's words. Shaking with rage, they execute Aram themselves. With their leader dead, the Orte soldiers flee, but none escape. Yoichi calmly shoots down every last one. Victory belongs to Toyohisa and his comrades. Afterward, Nobunaga instructs Toyohisa to sit atop a crate, while he and Yoichi stand beside him proudly. The elf village is now under the protection, or perhaps rule, of the Drifters. News of the Drifters' actions in the elf village spreads. In a mysterious place, Murasaki reads a magical newspaper reporting the event. He smiles faintly, seemingly pleased that his drifters are correcting wrongs. But he's soon interrupted by a black-haired woman, Easy, his nemesis and leader of the Ends, the enemy faction of the drifters. Easy mocks him, claiming no matter how many drifters he sends, the Ends will win this war. Murasaki remains calm and vows to continue sending drifters to counter the Ends. Easy reveals a vision. The Black King, leader of the Ends, has begun invading the southern territories. A massive campaign is underway. Meanwhile, Abe no Seimei, learning of the elf village victory, instructs Olminu not to approach Toyohisa's group yet. With the Ends invasion escalating, Abe needs experienced drifters for the front lines. For now, Toyohisa and company are left in the village, waiting for the right moment to be recruited. Far to the north, the Ends army, led by the Black King, launches a massive assault on Carneades, the last human stronghold. On the defending side are Abe no Seimei and two legendary Roman generals, Hannibal Barca and Scipio Africanus. Unfortunately, Hannibal is now old and senile, and Scipio has to care for him. Abe tries convincing the fortress commander to hand control to the veteran drifters, but the Carneades officers mock the old geezers, laughing at Hannibal, who wets himself from age. Scipio tries defending Hannibal's legacy, but to no avail. Abe realizes the fortress won't last 2 days under such arrogant leadership. A wave of dark magic confirms his fears. The Black King's forces have arrived. He tells his drifter allies to prepare to retreat. Moments later, hordes of monsters, goblins, orcs, giants, and dragons storm the fortress. The Black King, cloaked in white, heals his soldiers with a mere touch, revered as a messiah by the monster races. Alongside him stand twisted versions of historical figures: Hijikata Toshizo, Jeanne d'Arc, Anastasia Romanov, and others. He commands them to annihilate the humans. The brutal assault begins. Dragons rain down fire, giants smash the gates, and undead samurai tear through the defenses. Jean cackles as she incinerates soldiers with corrupted holy fire. Anastasia freezes troops solid. Amid the carnage, a Wobitu-era Japanese Zero fighter jet bursts through a portal. Its pilot, Naoshi Kano, has accidentally been transported into the Drifter's world. Dazed by the medieval warfare and flying dragons, Kano instinctively acts, diving and gunning down a dragon dragon to protect fleeing villagers. Shocked by the scene of destruction, memories of wartime bombings flood Kano's mind. Enraged, he begins strafing enemy lines, downing dragons and scattering monster ranks. Realizing the fortress is doomed, Abe evacuates his drifters. He leads Hannibal and Scipio to rendezvous with two American legends, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. As they flee, Abe asks if Hannibal and Scipio would still fight for this world. Hannibal grins, saying the odds are slim, but not zero. Encouraged, Abe believes hope remains if the drifters unite. Butch and Sundance provide cover fire, mowing down monsters with pistols and a Gatling gun. Hannibal jokes he'd love to borrow the Gatling. Give me that and I'll take on Rome again. They narrowly escape as the fortress falls. The Black King watches the drifters slip away, sending a familiar bird into the sky to hunt them down. He commands his forces to spill the blood of every remaining drifter. Back in the south, Ulmanu panics as communication with Abe is lost. She continues spying on Toyohisa's group, but the veteran warriors have long noticed her. Toyohisa, Nobunaga, and Yoichi corner her. Terrified, Ulmanu recalls the nickname, "Leave Your Head Behind," a title Toyohisa earned after his brutal beatdown of Aram. Toyohisa scowls at the name and taps Ulmanu's head. Nobunaga interrogates her. Realizing she speaks Japanese, they suspect she may be from their world, or connected somehow. Under pressure, Ulmanu reveals the truth. She is a member of the Octobrist organization, a group of native sorcerers assigned to gather drifters and unite them against the Ends, evil individuals who also arrived in this world but seek only destruction. She pleads with the trio to join their fight and save this new land. But the samurai's response is unexpected. They exchange glances, seemingly uninterested in the holy mission of saving the world. "Not our business," Toyohisa replies flatly. For them, they fight not under orders, but for their own reasons. Even so, they now understand a much larger war is unfolding around them. Episode 3 ends with the trio's uncertain stance in this coming conflict, and the growing curiosity about what path the drifters will choose next. The first 3 episodes of Drifters hit the ground running with a unique premise and solid execution. The anime brings together real historical figures like Oda Nobunaga, Shimazu Toyohisa, and Nasu no Yoichi in a war-torn fantasy world. The blend of history and dark fantasy creates dreamlike collaborations and clashes. Imagine Nobunaga befriending a young samurai, or Hannibal teaming up with an American cowboy. The story moves fast. Within just 3 episodes, we're shown a wide-scale conflict, from skirmishes in villages to full-on siege warfare. Though packed with brutal action and bloodshed, the anime doesn't feel hollow. It features war tactics, samurai morality, and the tension between 2 mysterious forces, Murasaki and Easy, who subtly influence the world's balance. Humor surfaces through sudden shifts to chibi-style art in comedic moments, providing levity without undercutting the intensity. From a production standpoint, Drifters impresses. The visual style remains faithful to Kota Hirano's manga, creator of Hellsing. The sharp eyes, exaggerated proportions, and gritty detail are captured in fluid, powerful animation. Sword slashes, gunfire, and tactical movement all burst with energy and precision. The color palette leans toward muted and dark tones, reflecting the grim world, but remains well balanced and visually appealing. The background score and sound effects reinforce the tension, while the voice acting, especially Nobunaga's manic yet intimidating delivery, stands out as a highlight. Is Drifters worth watching? Absolutely, especially for fans of action fantasy anime with historical twists and darker tones. In just its opening arc, Drifters delivers intense battles, military strategy, era-crossing characters, and a dose of twisted humor. That said, this anime is not for the faint-hearted. Graphic violence and gore are prominent, but if you're a fan of Hellsing or dark fantasy in general, this is a stylish and high-energy treat. With strong storytelling, slick animation, and a distinct tone, I rate Drifters as a solid and a must-add to your watch list.